Yes, yes, yes. It is the Cast Worthy podcast, and we are partially back. I am Big Steve, aka Last of a Dying Breed, on the X Machine, joined by EJ this morning. It's a two-man game at the moment, probably for the duration of the pod. VP is dealing with some technical difficulties. After a week off, refreshing. What you been up to, man? How you feeling?
Feeling good, man. Feeling great. Happy to be here. Just out here in these streets, living for the streets.
Any eventful uh stories to share for the last 2 weeks?
On a positive note, was able to mentor some young students at Morgan State. These guys just recently lived through a on-campus shooter.
Mm,
So that was interesting to talk to them. When I was in college, we had a shooting on campus as well. But the media and stuff, it's a little different. It hits you different. And but I also realized, like, depending on where you're from, some people are desensitized to that kind of stuff,
hmm
and it's just good to hear from those guys. And it's a lot of young, bright men there with feelings, and just realizing that black men got feelings and they care and they need somebody to talk to. So that was good on a positive note.
One day
On a
the
more
world will realize that.
I don't know if that was the thing that we talked about. And I said, I don't know that society and as a culture, we've reached that place where we really, really get to understand what black men feel and how we think, you know? Um, but on a more negative note, not negative, but for the streets note, I got to watch my Jets Monday night get destroyed, but it was all good because I had strippers in front of me. So that was good.
that that usually makes things a lot better.
Sure does. I forgot all about the loss.
Yeah, you can kind of accept almost anything if you're in the right environment,
Absolutely.
positive environment. I didn't hear
Absolutely.
a any coverage of a shooting at Morgan. Did the news even cover that? Media even cover that?
Yeah. Yeah, I shared
They did?
it. I shared it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Yep. I shared it. And unfortunately
Maybe
there
they
was
just maybe they just
it was
didn't make a big deal of it because
no, no, no.
I
It was there. Y'all missed it. Y'all missed it. I posted it. But y'all folks. If it's
how
a black
recent was
people,
that?
y'all don't care. It was October.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, I
It
didn't
was
see nobody talking about it. Usually you see it in the news and stuff like that, but I think we're numb to it, just like we're numb to you know a lot of other stuff. But yeah, you're right, man. Depending on where you come from, some of that stuff is it's second nature, right? Where you grow up, if you're used to hearing gunshots, or you're used to being in situations where if a gunshot goes off, you're already primed to know what to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that don't know that. And I don't mean the fucking teachings or the practices they do at people's jobs and schools. I mean like the real life shit. Like you out and you just learn that because who and where you chill, it's happened. I've been in bars, small bars where, you know, shots went off and people just no, just go. You go out the back door. There's one door in the fence, so if you don't get to that door, you probably gonna have to hop the fence. And you know, it just it's unfortunate, and it's only certain demos that deal with that or understand that.
Yeah. And even more so, being at college at a place, even if you're from a place like that, right? You left that place to go
To
to a
go
place
somewhere safe.
should be safe. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, talking to those guys and connecting with them and building with them, and it was probably one of the best things I've done in a long time. So that was dope for me.
Yeah, that's Morgan is where, DC, right?
Now Morgan is in Baltimore.
Baltimore. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So they had to cancel basically their homecoming activities for the first time in, like, I don't know how long. And unfortunately, we then had another shooting at Bowie State's campus later on. But yeah, it
Was
was
this? Was this like an active shooter situation, or was this like a like dudes was beefing or some type of shit like that?
Well, Oregon, I don't. It was treated like an active shooter situation because they
Okay.
hadn't caught the people. They didn't know what was going on. It was just like a random thing going on. But
Mm,
they caught. I think they caught both of them. But the kid was like 17.
damn.
Kid was
Yeah.
17 years old.
I
Yep.
mean,
And the one
it's Baltimore, man. I was it's funny you talk about that. I went to see Dave Chappelle, the greatest comedian ever to live,
stop it.
uh Darnell Rawlings was there, actually Larry, and he talked about Baltimore. He was like, "Listen, I don't know if y'all understand, Baltimore is probably the most dangerous city in America." And then he went into some stuff and made some jokes around some stuff and stuff like that. But a lot of people seem uh unaware because you don't hear it as much as you hear like Chicago, right? Like you hear Chicago, you hear LA, and people feel like the danger is in LA because they're running up in stores and stealing stuff. And of course, the danger in Chicago because of, the gun violence. But, people don't realize in parts of Baltimore, like it's like zombie city, man, because people are drugged up. And from what I'm understanding, just from hearing people that I play, I got some friends I play Xbox with, and I keep in contact with, you know, it's getting younger and younger. Like the people that are out there that are caught out are getting younger and younger. It ain't like, the old heads or just the white heads from out of town.
Yeah, and you know what? I honestly will say, knowing and living and working in DC and Baltimore, DC, I would say is even more dangerous. I shared a video with y'all in the chat that my homegirl, she was out in a real high end place in DC, and these four guys just jumped out, guns drawn, on camera, just took them for everything they got. DC is real bad, and I mean, working in corrections, I got to see how young these guys are coming in with bodies, and it's crazy out there, man. It's crazy, and
Yeah.
we beef about the economy all the time, and I'm to the point where government wise, I don't give a shit what we doing. I don't care what we're doing as a government. I don't care about the policies. Don't tell me about Republican, Democrat, because we have a Democratic president that said, if you black and you don't vote for me, you ain't black, basically. And he hasn't done shit for black people. And black people are hurting out there. When do we as a country, when do we as a nation start to invest in our people? When do we do that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, politicians need to be held accountable. Like that's what it comes down to. That's at all levels. It's not just at, presidential, that's not at the, federal level, but at the state level as well. And I know you say that all the time. You scream that at the top of your lungs. But it doesn't matter, yo. It doesn't matter. Democratic president, Republican president, Democratic House, Republican House, Democratic Senate, Republican Senate. We haven't seen, when's the last time we seen anything to target specifically black people? I don't think we'll see that. That's an unrealistic expectation. You got to shrug that off. Like, I forget who I was watching, but they were saying there's demos that you can make jokes about, you can slander, and you're immediately canceled. But motherfuckers out here screaming, nigger this, nigger that, and a week later, it's your favorite fucking comedian or your favorite whatever again. You know what I'm saying? Think about, Kramer from Seinfeld, Howard Stern. I just put that in the chat the other day. The list goes on and on of people. Who was it? That Chris Tucker, or not Chris Tucker, Chris Rock was like, oh no, he's okay. He's one of our guys. It was another white comedian that was, saying nigger, and he was okay with it. Like, but you know, there we know them two demos. You make the wrong joke, you out of there. You out
I
of
would
there.
say I would say it's a few. I would say it's a few. We've seen more recently, the Jewish community and how they hit back when they felt like they're not being cared about. We know the Latin community. Um, and then the Asian community, we know for sure,
Mhm.
people respond in that regard, and I understand. Like we've always said here, we believe that those populations should be protected, right? But as a community of black people, and we talking about gun violence, like it's so funny to me. Like we scream, you have the one side that says, get rid of the guns, take away all the guns, do this, do that, but you don't go into the neighborhoods where the ethnicities, the people are hurting, and you don't understand why they're doing this. There's gun violence, there's drugs, there's crime. But what are we doing to help our people? We're giving away billions overseas, billions, but we're not investing in our own people. And the mindset is, well, I had to come out of it. Why can't you?
Yeah,
So I mean, how do you tell a people like that voting for Biden is important? Why? They haven't seen shit happen from that guy.
yeah,
There's more
and the
black
come
people that like Trump than anything.
right, and depending on who it is, the come out of it is can be significantly different. You know what I mean? But you're right, man. You talk about the Jewish community, and you're immediately labeled anti-Semitic. You talk about gays, you're labeled homophobic. You talk about Asians, you're racist or biased or whatever. But you talk about black people, it's like you're woke. You're a little too woke. You know what I'm saying? Like it's it's out of control, man. It's out of control. I don't think anybody really, we've had probably the longest fight in this nation, in this country,
No
um,
question.
to
No
deal
question.
with, right? And
No
so
question.
when people are like, "Oh, you got to get through it, you got to get out there and work," no, yeah, you could say that, but the problem is a good portion of the people that move that way or that get through it, they're not thinking about, oh, let me put my hand down and help this person up. They're thinking, let me pull the ladder up and see where I can take this ladder to go to that next level, right? The difference is, I work with an individual who is Middle Eastern of some sort. I don't know if he's a Palestinian or Indian or whatever, but um when someone with the last name Ahmed comes through the door, you know what I mean? Or comes on the phone or whatever, comes to an email, he's on it. Like that's my people. You know what I mean? If someone gets hired that has a similar background, that's my people. I got to do right by my people. Asians are similar. Gays are similar. Jewish people are similar. Black people, not so much, man.
Yep.
So much.
Yeah,
But
and I mean, again to that point, we're trying to reverse 4 centuries worth of negativity. And it's just tough. At the end of the day, like you look at the Holocaust, how many families got money from Germany? How many
mhm,
families got a leg up? We were literally in bondage, in a slave state for 4 centuries, and
mhm.
we still till this day we can't even get protection.
On this conversation, I went to see The Killing of the Wildflower,
Mhm.
the one with
Leo.
DiCaprio
Yep.
and De Niro, and it's along the lines of this, right? Except it's the Native Americans. It's a Native American tribe, the Osage tribe that was in Oklahoma, and it's based on some true uh,
Events.
events, right? And it listen, this shit was 3.5 hours. It didn't feel like 3.5 hours. One, because there was always something going on. It kept you engulfed in it. There was a lot of learning to go on and shit that make you be like, yo, because we've seen the movies about slavery and where and it and it shocks you and the culture shocks you and stuff like that. And then when you watch, see the difference is from the way they did Native Americans is they fakely or falsely befriended them, right? Because in this tribe, they were the ones with the money, right? They were the ones that had the dough because it was their land they found the oil on, right? And many other tribes are similar, but so you had the whites come in and they start marrying these Indian women, these Native American women, creating families, and then killing off the women,
Wow.
right? Like the shit, bruh. This shit is crazy. This movie, it was 3.5 hours and so long, and I want to watch it again. That's how good it was. It was so shocking. When you watch it, you'd be like, "Yo, this shit's crazy, man."
The atrocities that have been done to people in this nation. When you really peel back the layers, from Black Wall Street to Rosewood to stories like
Mhm.
this, it's just the atrocities that have been done to people.
Yeah,
It's insane. It's insane.
and shout out to Leo, man. Leo killed that shit. I've never been the one to be like, "Oh, Leo DiCaprio is one of the greatest." People always say that. He
I'm one
killed
of
that
those
shit.
people. I'm one of those
You
people.
you kind of forget that it's him. You're not sitting there watching his character and like, yo, that's Leo DiCaprio. He you're thinking he's that guy. De Niro did a great job too. And we talk about this with rappers, right? We see two really good rappers get on a track and we'd be like, yo, he ate this dude. Like, J. Cole, Drake, Jay and Nas, right?
Yeah.
We see these guys get on screen with like, Pacino and De Niro, and we were like, yo, Pacino ate De Niro, right? De Niro get on the screen with anybody else, he's generally eating them up. Leo ate his ass up. And De Niro, let me tell you something, it's not a slouch. De Niro killed it. He killed it.
He's also like damn near 82.
Yeah, but he killed it. He still killed it. He's him. Like you wouldn't even tell that he was in his 80s or close to it.
Oh yeah. De Niro,
He killed it, but it was
Pacino.
just like, yo, it's a really good movie. I would say anybody that has the discipline to sit down and watch a movie that long, it's absolutely worth it. And I knew it was gonna be long, so loaded up, got the large popcorn, stopped at CVS on the way in, got the candy. You know what I mean? I started to get a steak and cheese, but I didn't want to go that far. Um,
You'd been asleep,
you
bro.
know, yeah. But I
You'd
didn't
been
fall
asleep.
asleep. I fall asleep on everything. I sit down and start watching a 30-minute show and I'm sleeping. I made it through that 3.5 hours. So that just goes to show you, man. It's a really really good movie, man, and it looks like it's going to be available quickly on on Apple Plus or Apple TV or whatever they call that for
Mm,
streaming.
I don't have that.
Um, but definitely watch it, man. Well, I know you'll find it. You'll see it somewhere else.
Yeah. De Niro's
But
80 years old, man. Shout out to him.
yeah, it's really worth a watch, yo. It'll make you be like, yo, these motherfuckers was wilding out there.
I'm not surprised, man. The atrocities that people of color, non-white people, let me just say it, have had to go through in this nation. It's and again, we've talked about this before, right? How certain governments, Republicans, whatever, are pushing that narrative to try to erase history. And we have to be diligent and steadfast as a people to continue to tell the truths of the atrocities that have happened in this nation. Because if we don't, they'll act like it never happened.
I'm telling you, I'm watching that almost made me want to made me feel better about losing my money at the casinos. I'm like, all right, this is this is preparations for them, Um, but
Let me
it's
see,
really a
man.
good movie. It's a really good film. You've been doing anything else over the last 2 weeks? Out in these streets, it's cool weather, hoodie weather is always the best because
It,
the
it
leggings
it's
come
been it's
out.
been warm. It's been warm up here, but it's starting to get cooler. But I'll tell you what, man. Like I always tell y'all, the dating world out here, it is trash, bro. Um, People are just delusional. They're just it's people are crazy, man. And I just tell y'all all the time, good job for marrying the ones y'all did, because it's trash out here in these streets.
Yeah, that don't
But I'm
surprise
okay
me,
with that.
man. It
Yeah,
doesn't-
yeah.
It's
I'm okay
it's
with it
trash
though.
in this.
You,
It's
you
trash in this society, yo.
yeah.
Social media has thrown everything off. Like no matter what situation, and whether you're single, whether you're actively dating, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're married, divorce, whatever that is, like social media paints this narrative and this picture for people that this is the perfect life, and that everyone's life needs to be cookie cut off of X, right? And you know X makes those expectations wrong. You know what I'm saying? For people, like, this person's happiness is not your happiness. You know what I mean? You may think it is because it looks great and they make it look so fun and shit like that, but that may not be the case. And, the reality of it is that person that's showing you that quote unquote happiness, or what you are perceiving as happiness, is probably covering up for something that really isn't happiness. Anger, frustration, depression. Like, don't, like, people have to stop letting social media, other people's stories, and remember, people are giving you 3% of their life, of the real of them, right? I see people on here like, oh, I was popping bottles last night, blah blah blah. Bitch, I know that your business is in default and you about to get kicked out the business, out the building.
Right.
Like,
Right.
who are you fronting? Like, oh, look at this new outfit, bop bop bop. Bitch, you broke. I know you broke. I know
Yeah.
that your car gets parked at somebody else's house, and this goes for males and females. Like, this
Yo.
just happens to be a female, individual that came up, but
Yo.
this goes both ways. Like, people be out here fronting for the gram and everything like that. Listen, I know that you park your car at somebody else's house. I know that you park a pickup truck in front of your car so that they can't tow it away. Like, I know these things about you. Stop putting this front on the internet. And then people watching it got to be able to dissect that shit too.
Yeah, we as a people, and this goes back to the conversation that I had with the young gentleman. Mental health is a real thing. Like I was out last night just talking to random women, and like it always shocks me when I see women that drink more than me. Like,
Oh,
you drink more than me, and it's just like, the thing
that's
about it
tough.
is you drinking more than me, and I'm 200 plus pounds. And then what does that now happen to you? Now you become somebody belligerent. Now you like, the conversation is just crazy. And when you see that, like, it just shocks you because you don't. I'm not used to seeing a woman like that. But
Right.
the reality is, people got demons out here that they're battling things, and you just never know. So this sweet, good looking woman just turned into, Bill Burr. Like,
Right.
it's nasty. So it's just always interesting to realize, life is real out here. People are going through things, and you just got to keep your
Only
head on the swivel.
only positive to that is you get to see the real them, because when you drunk, that's the real you. Like this, like, yesterday when you was like, oh, happy Veterans Day, salute to y'all, and he was like, I'm still a little tipsy. That's how you really feel about veterans. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the real side of you. Uh, I know when I'm a little tipsy, I say some stuff. That's the real side of me. So that's the only good thing about you seeing abroad in that element. You could make your best decision as to whether, are we going to my house, or are we going to not my house? like,
It was hilarious because initially I asked, I was trying to talk to them, trying to get to know them. And then she was like, then after the unraveling came, she was like, "You not gonna get my number?" I was like, "No." And then she forced me to take the number, and I was like, "I don't want it,"
right.
But it was just crazy, and it's like, "Nope, I am not going to contact you. I'm okay."
Yeah, for real, man.
It's nasty out
Um,
here.
I bet. I bet. And, it's only getting even closer to the holiday season. So people's mental health are really going to settle in. People that don't get to be around those family members, they're angry at those family members, but they really would love to spend some time with those family members and shit like that. Like, you're going to see the real on some people as you're out in these streets, all of us, right? People. And, you know, just got to, especially you in the dating scene, like, you're gonna see some scarred, fatherless, things out there. You're just gonna have to be a strong man. Hold your head, because it's gonna be interesting. Interesting
Yeah,
issues. But nonetheless, man. Other than that, not too much. I went to see Dave Chappelle. In addition
not
to
the greatest comedian of all time,
my
no.
my eventful week. Um, Dave Chappelle is by far the most may okay. He may not be the funniest um comedian of all time, I think he is the most impactful comedian of all time. I think he's the most accepted comedian of all time. Like this guy
For sure.
says
For sure.
anything, right?
For
Like
sure.
he walked in there and in the first 3 minutes he was like, yo, Ron DeSantis is gay. Stu be walking on high heels. He dropped the F bomb. He's like, he's a blah. You know what I'm saying? I bet you are gonna get people to stop saying gay. Like he was going in. Then he made a joke about handicapped people. There was people in wheelchairs laughing. Like I saw this lady in a wheelchair when we got there, and I'm like, oh, maybe that's why I shouldn't. I could see her from my seats. I'm like, okay, maybe I'll stop buying the handicap seating because people do come to these shows, right? Um, and then he's like, I got a new approach. I'm not talking about them no more. I'm gonna talk about handicaps. And then he went on this thing talking about handicaps, like some funny jokes and shit. And I'm looking down at the chick in her wheelchair. She's laughing, she's cracking up. You know what I mean? Um, and then he talks about, Jewish people and Asian people and all of that, right? And everyone's laughing and it's accepted and stuff like that. But
Nah,
the
he's definitely
messages
definitely most accepted for sure.
the messages this guy puts out there, the stories he tells, they always start out pretty serious with, a message, and then they get to a funny part, funny piece. He talked about, the Chris Rock and Will Smith stuff, and he talked about a lot of stuff, man. And through that process, he probably went through almost a whole pack of bogeys, yo, in an hour and a half. Like Dave
Smoking
Chappelle
on
better,
stage.
he better have the best doctor, and like they should be doing x-rays of his lungs weekly, yo, because if he's when he's on tour, I can only imagine if he hits 50 shows like this. He was up there for about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more, right? And I would say he probably got through at least 15 cigarettes, yo. Like
Yo.
he finish one, walk around the stage, people will laugh. You see him grab the box and that, he put another bogey in his mouth and start telling another story, like that,
Yo, that's
like
crazy.
that,
That's
and
crazy.
drinking tequila. Like someone was like, "Hey, what's in your cup?" He's like, "Oh, you want to find out?" And then he threw it to a dude, one of the dudes in the audience. He's like, "Oh, smell that," He's like, "Oh, it smells like alcohol." He's like, "Oh yeah, it's tequila." Smoking
That's
bogeys, drinking
crazy.
tequila, like
Yo,
crazy, man.
but he's living on that edge, man. Like again,
I fucks with him, yo.
we talk about the stardom and all of that. We know that it has an impact on your mental health, and he lives like a rock star, man.
Hmm.
But I forget what comedian it was that said it. I think it was Faison Love, or what's his name? The
Faison is the big belly dude from
yeah, Faison.
okay.
He said it. He was like, Dave Chappelle got funny basically off of white comedy. And you look at a lot of his early stuff, he's built a large fan base of white comedy. He's had white writers for the Chappelle show. Half Baked, if you watch Half Baked, you know how many people, like me and you always watch Half Baked, but you know how many black people never really watch Black Half Baked? Like he's
Hmm.
that fan base to where he's been accepted through so many communities for so long. What I mean? When you talk about black comedians, he's just now getting his praise from our community, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I think there's some truth to that. Definitely some truth to that. I've been watching him since way back then. Like, but
Mhm.
I was a huge Half Baked fan. I was his stand up that he did. I love that. All of them. When he was on Comedy Central, and I wasn't really a Chappelle show watcher. Like I watched episodes here and there, but I wasn't like the person that had to be like, "Yo, Chappelle show's on tonight. Let's go watch a new episode." Like I wasn't
Yeah,
that. Um, but I think to your point now, right now he's is kind of his coming out party where, um, you know, I think what makes him so understandable is he speaks to both sides of everything, right? And he doesn't discriminate. It's not all gay jokes. It's not all white jokes. It's not all Jewish jokes. It's everybody can get it, and anybody can get it. And you got to have that. I feel like when you're talking about comedy and you're going to a show like that, you have to be open to the fact that um you know, it's jokes, and that's what you're there for. And it's, that's the one place where somebody should have complete freedom of speech, right? Is
Absolutely.
we let
Absolutely.
white comedians, we let white comedians make black jokes. If that can be done, then a black comedian can make any type of joke, with black jokes, whether it's, whatever. But
Absolutely.
yeah, he absolutely killed it. We found out we didn't know that Rawlings was opening up for him, was one of the people opening for him. Found out that he's going to be shooting a Netflix special this month in November, so that's going to
Nice.
be good to watch when it comes out. He was funny. He was funny as hell too. I think
He's
when you
always
talk,
been good.
yeah, when you talk ha ha funny type shit, he was funnier than Chappelle. But when you talk about impact and stories and messages, like this dude tells a fucking story, yo. He tells a story, and there's comedy in there. There's, he takes you on emotional, roller coasters as you're listening. Like I fucks with Chappelle, man. He's my goat.
And then, the older he gets, we'll see, how his chops go. Because but that's also the other thing, right? The bigger these guys it's difficult. He's unique in a sense that he's become so big, but he's never taken his gas off the funny side. Because when you look at it, Eddie Murphy opened the door for all these guys. Like when you go back to Nutty Professor, we
Raw.
forget
Oh, you
when
mean
we
movie wise?
yeah, I mean just in general, like when we go back to Nutty Professor, that was the first time a lot of people saw Dave Chappelle ever when he was roasting Eddie
Yeah, and the
Murphy in
clump.
the club.
Yeah,
Yep. So yeah, Nutty Professor. But Eddie had the movies, the stand-ups, everything, but he's at a place now where we couldn't expect him to have a stand-up like that because he's making family movies now.
right.
He's kind of found his lane, stayed in it. Chappelle is still kind of in the trenches. Like he's still doing the raw comedy, he's still doing the stand-up shit. And the older he gets, he's still doing the art. We would never, I don't think we'll ever see another raw delirious from Eddie Murphy. He's out of that now. But
Yeah.
Chappelle has found his lane to kind of stay to be the comedian and do the raw shows, smoking cigarettes on stage. Like he's unique in that. He's at that level where he could absolutely do anything else, but he's choosing to continue to deliver good stuff.
Yeah, I think he's just learned the delivery of that, right? I think Eddie Murphy still has it in him to do that if he wanted to. I just don't know that his delivery would be where it needs to be to deliver the jokes to where people would accept them. Again, to me, I think with Chappelle, a lot of it is acceptance. For this, this guy is gonna say some wild off the rails type shit. And he does it, and he's unapologetic, and it's like whatever. I fucks with him. But yeah, when you talk about Eddie Murphy, yeah, you got even going all the way back, talk about Beverly Hills Cop, right? When he's in the Beverly Hills Cops was that was almost I mean, even the song, My Girl Likes to Party All the Time. Like this dude, he definitely paved the way for comedians in general. I'm not even gonna just say black comedians, I say comedians in general.
Yeah.
Um to go into different spaces to get those specials. Obviously, rest in peace, Richard Pryor. We'll never forget him. You know what I'm saying? Like, when we talk about the stand-ups and the movies and stuff, he was there as well. But I think, Eddie Murphy kind of got into that lane of visibility to the whites as well,
Yep.
and he opened that lane for Martin. He opened that lane, I think, for Chris Rock, for Chris Tucker, for like
Chappelle, everybody.
Chappelle, like these guys all, he opened the lane and they all went through it. And shout out to all of them, right? I mean, Cat Williams, like all these guys, Kevin Hart, like they're all from the Eddie tree in my
Yeah.
mind. So
That's
when you
my
say
goat.
Eddie is when you say Eddie is the GOAT and he's your GOAT, I can respect it. Um uh, you know, but I think it's just a difference of opinion. To me, I think it's the Kobe LeBron debate, the LeBron Jordan debate when you talk about those guys, and then you got like the like Richard Pryor is like Um,
Magic
like
Johnson, Dr. J,
yeah,
kind of.
he right. He's like that. Like he's a lot of people's goats, and you respect the person that says that's their goat.
Yep.
Like the Kareem, right? Like Kareem, people like, oh, every level he's won and blah blah blah, right? Like I respect it. I respect
Right.
it.
Right.
But
But you
these
but
niggas is
you also
different.
be like, he played against janitors.
Exactly, exactly. The league
But
had
no,
twenty.
some of those guys though, you gotta respect it because even a dude like Kareem, from the '70s, he also did play in the '80s, which Magic played in the '80s and played in some of the '90s. So some of those guys, and I think that's the real thing for me when you talk about Jordan. He played in so many eras, right? He
Mhm.
played in the '80s, '90s, and into the 2000s. So he played against your Kobe's. He in '98, '96. This guy was getting buckets. So it's that's the thing for me. LeBron is he's this generation's goat, but it ain't the same. It ain't the same. It ain't the same.
I think
Jordan.
I I think LeBron. I'm kind of happy he came back this season because I wanted to see him. And I feel like he deserves a going away season, which tells me that this is probably not his last season. Um, but it's almost feeling like he overstayed his welcome. Um, in the sense, not so much that like last year I felt like, yo, we're gonna miss LeBron when he's gone. You know what I'm saying? And I think I said it on the pod a few times. I told you guys, like, listen, we talk a lot of shit about him, but and a lot of people talk shit about him, but people gonna miss him when he's gone. But this year I don't feel, and it's still early in the season, so we'll see. But like the Lakers aren't, they're not the big talk. He's not the huge difference maker. And he's only playing 26, 27 minutes a game, which I get, right? He's 40 years old, right? But um it's almost like he probably should have gone ahead out last year or found a way to try to win last year and go out. He is, listen, I get behind people that call him their GOAT if they haven't seen Jordan play. Like a lot of these people were not sports fans back in the day. They could be our age and they just weren't sports fans. They didn't sit down and watch basketball. They didn't play the basketball games. They didn't watch football. They didn't watch the football games. They got into it after high school, after college, when they got into their 20s and other people were doing it, right? So, a lot of them are like, "Oh yeah, LeBron is that guy." You didn't see Jordan play. You didn't see him play. You had an opportunity and you missed it, and I get it, unfortunately. But you should have seen Kobe, and I think he's underrated. I just think Kobe is like when you go back to some of those clips, like he had the era where he was dunking on people. He had the era where he was ISO. He was passing like very rare, but he made it. He made things happen and he won. Right, stuck it out with Lakers five chips. Right.
Yeah, I think Kobe got overshadowed with the fact. To me, it's the same. It's a Dwayne Wade kind of effect because they had Shaq.
Hmm.
Like it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard in the moment to realize the greatness when you got a Shaq. And I think that's why that team kind of split up and that Kobe had to get one without him, get a few without him rather. But Kobe was a great individual player. But again, that era of basketball has so many great individuals. When you talk about the Tracy McGrady's, Grant Hills, outside the injuries, Allen Iverson's, that generation just had so many killers.
T
It, it
Mac.
kind of it kind of feels like, yeah, it kind of feels like basketball hasn't ascended back to that level yet. And I
Hmm.
think to your point, we're gonna miss LeBron because he's the last of that elk. He's the last of that tree. He's the last of it.
There's a lot of good players and very good players today. Even great players, but they don't want to be the greatest player,
Nope. They
right?
not
Like
they're
they
not
say they
killers. They're not
right.
killers.
They say they want to be the greatest, and on paper it sounds fun, and in the interviews and on social media, but they don't want to do what it takes to be the greatest, which is smack the shit out of a teammate, which you know what I'm
Yep.
saying, which
Yep.
is alienate your team and be like, yo. If y'all don't get it together, I'm out. Like, or alienate the other stars. Come out and say, yo, I'm better than this person. I am better
Yo,
than.
as a Knicks fan, I got Julius Randle on my team. This guy walks back on defense. I mean, he just does asinine bullshit. And you're supposed to be a superstar. When I look even back at my Knicks in the 90s, when you got the Starks, the Oakleys, then the Allen Houstons, the Spreewells, you talking about guys that would die on that court. They would
Mhm.
die to be great. We got Julius Randle walking on plays, bullshitting. The, the NBA's got to we got to find that killer, man. And sadly enough, John Morant could have been that guy.
Oh, he's that killer, all right. Um, I think, yeah, you're right. You're right. I mean, I think nowadays it's more about getting paid than it is about, you know, being that guy and being in the record books and being, spoken of at a level that's separates you from everyone else, right? The team ups and stuff, like, oh, I'm gonna go team up with so and so. Like, if I'm a Devin Booker, I don't want Kevin Durant here. Let me win without him. They're already saying that I'm light skinned baby mamba. It's not warranted, but they're saying it, right? Don't bring this guy in here to try and put an asterisk on if we find a way to win and Bradley Beal. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me take the team that I got, and we'll build through the draft, maybe sign a free agent, but bringing in two other superstars, you're giving them the LeBron effect, like, and
Yeah.
you know, that's not
It
that killer
cheapens it.
instinct.
It cheapens it. It cheapens it all. It cheapens it all. I mean, it's just different, and the NBA is gonna have to figure it out for our generation. But I think for the young people, this is what they like. They'll
Yeah.
buy in. They'll buy in.
You know what else they need to figure out is, and not just the NBA, but the NFL. They need to
Oh,
figure out this officiating. They need to figure out, at all levels of pro sports, whether it's baseball, basketball, football, sports betting is it's a problem, and it's evident now. And it's not only, I don't even think it's just at the officiating levels. You got the Rams that twice this season have made some questionable calls. Like, they're down like 17 points with 3 seconds left and they kick a field goal. Like, that's not football, yo. You know what I'm saying? And so they end up covering the spread. Like, there was a there's textbook, right? And that stuff is not textbook stuff. That's stuff that says, yo, somebody got money on this game. These officials, like, I, you know, I watched this Cowboys game, man, this Cowboys Eagles game, and it was horrible. This might be the worst that I've ever seen
it
by
was
far.
not. I told y'all when I watched Kansas City play the Jets. Okay, we watched Patrick Mahomes
But that one
get
was bad
bailed
too.
out. That was horrible. The whole drive. This dude Jermaine Johnson. If you're the line judge, Jermaine Johnson is front and center, getting mugged, no call. Then the interception where the ref doesn't throw the flag until we intercept the ball. It
I
was
think it's
nasty.
it started. I mean, it started last year, but it became evident, I think, in the Super Bowl. Like that, we've seen so many times that, like, that push where they gave um Mahomes the extra 15 yards for the field goal that wins the game. Like, come on, man. Like, that shit's evident, and that's the Super Bowl, right? So now you talking big, 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 big money, right? Then you got the Jets game in Kansas City. Of course, they can't have. You know how much money the house loses if the Jets win? All it takes is one person to put a huge bet on the Jets because they were something like plus 1,200 or something like that, right? So if I put $1,000 on that, I'm making 12 grand. So think about somebody that puts big, big money. There's no way they could have the Jets win that game, right? Cowboys, Eagles, similarly. Actually, before we get there, let's go Eagles, Miami, and we talked about this one. This one is the most evident. You telling me the Eagles didn't commit one penalty that whole game, offense or defense or special teams? That's fucking possible. You've never seen it happen. You've never seen it happen. Zero penalties. Now on the other side of the ball, you got 15 penalties. Not like the it was like, when you say, oh, they're letting them fight or they're letting them go or they're letting them play. It's not like it was like, all right, 0 to 5. You're talking about 15 penalties to 0 penalties. And then when you go and watch the tape, there's face masks, like blatant face masks in the open field, not like in the trenches. These are the plays that if I'm the NFL, if I'm Roger Goodell, I got to stop thinking about Germany and getting these London games. I got to protect the integrity of this league because you're going to start to lose fans because it's clear that people have bets on this shit. You know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
is absolutely clear. And I think the fix for it is you go to Asia, you go to Europe, you find these people that don't watch football, you solicit for jobs being full-time officials or referees or whatever, and you put them through referee school, teach them, the books, the ropes, right? Everything, and this way you get unbiased officiating. Because if I grow up in New York and I become an official, yeah, Buffalo or the Giants or the Jets, one of those are likely my team, and they're gonna get the calls. There's no way I can go in there as a Cowboys fan, me personally, you as a Jets fan either, and be objective and be like, oh, you know what, that was a hold on so and so. Like that's not the reality of the world that we live in. Now you throw in there that sports betting is available, accessible on your cell phone. Before you had to make the bets before the game and stuff. Now it's accessible. You can be in the middle of a game and the spread changes and you can make a bet there. What stops me from being an official and having something like, an AirPod or something like that where somebody can be like, yo, odds are blah blah blah. We need so and so to win. I just put X on it.
Listen, what was his name? Tim Donahue?
Oh yeah, ahead of his
Tim
time.
Tim Donahue.
Donahue.
When people like him exist,
Right.
we have anything's possible, right?
Right.
So you have to clean it up. You got to clean it up. Like you said, I don't know what Goodell is gonna do, but he has to clean it up. This shit is it's nasty. But the other thing about it, we're gonna keep watching. We're gonna keep
Yeah,
watching.
yeah, because we're sports fans and huge football fans. But shout out to the Memphis Grizzlies coach. I put that video in the chat, and this is the audio. I don't know if you saw it. Let's see if it'll play. If I can get some. This was after a game where Jaren Jackson Jr. gets kicked out. Emotions were high. He goes to
One of the most poorly officiated games I've ever seen. Recorded, I'm fine with it. Fucking atrocious.
That's to the media. That's to the media.
My
We've been
man is a
saying for
setup. My
Bro,
man
we've
is
been
set up.
saying, yeah, we've been saying it for years. Like, yo, get out there. We need somebody to take one for the team. And listen, maybe a player doesn't do it because it's money out of their check. Like that's what VP said, and I get it. But as a coach, I'm running through a wall for that coach right there.
Absolutely. No
Right?
question. And a player can absolutely do it. A player has more liberty than a coach does. I don't
Right.
agree with that piece. I mean, somebody's gonna lose money regardless. If
And
anything, the
somebody's gonna
players,
pay that.
yeah, and the
Some
players get paid more than the coaches. So it
right.
makes more sense for them to do it.
Yeah. No, you gotta be deliberate in your messaging when you're talking about it. You can't be beating around the bush and oh, it was a tough night tonight. The ball didn't bounce our way. No, nigga, you come out here. Um, y'all seen that play when so and so got face masked? Cause I seen it, but I know who didn't see it. Like if I'm listen, I couldn't be coach. I couldn't be a
The
coach. I
the
couldn't be a
prob the
player.
problem with NFL players though, they're wired so much to kind of just shrug it off and keep it moving.
Oh yeah,
I think with the NBA, and I think in that arena, you're definitely gonna have the coaches that have to say it in the NFL. In the NBA, you know, we got guys. I think LeBron could be that guy. Chris Paul, Kevin Durant. If you don't, they the ones that should speak out. They're the ones.
I think we'll see that. I think we'll see LeBron get to a breaking point this season. We may see that because we already saw the Lakers send a tape to the NBA league office after a Lakers game against the Heat last week, I want to say it was. where they were like, "Yo, LeBron James didn't get these calls." The videos out of what plays that they thought were fouls, and there were a couple that looked like it, but there was a couple that was way off that was not foul. But there was a couple that were fouls that they missed. But the league came out and said, "Nope, we feel like they officiated this accurately," and naturally so, right? Like they can't openly say, "Yo, we fucked up," and they'll say that on one play if it's a game changer, but they're not gonna take a tape of 10 to 15 plays and wear that, right? I'm not standing on the square of, "Yo, they just challenged a whole quarter and we're saying that they're right." You know what I'm saying? You say, "Hey, this one play, was this a foul?" And you come back and say yes. That doesn't look as bad as saying, "Yo, they sent us 10 minutes worth of game tape and they were right, as a league." So but I think we'll see someone get to that breaking point this year, and I think LeBron could be that person. Be like, "Yo, they ain't
Absolutely.
call no fouls," and
Absolutely.
just go off the
I'm
rails.
I'm 40. I don't care, you know.
Right. I'm on the way. I'm
I'm on
I'm
the
on
way
top
out.
of this game. Y'all gonna miss me anyway because you haven't replaced me. Who's the replacement for LeBron? Who's the replacement face? Yo, before we get there, Luka Doncic is the best player in the league, yo. That white boy is something else, yo. Luka Doncic is the best player in the league today. Fuck these other
Better than
players.
better than the Joker?
Better than the Joker, yo. Better
Ooh,
than the Joker.
ooh.
I like. Listen,
But he ain't
man.
gonna win shit. He not gonna win shit though.
He might not. He might
He's
not.
not gonna win shit in Dallas.
But here's the thing. He's in the right team with the right owner who will try, right? They always try. They when they don't win, it's not from lack of trying. Like Mark Cuban is a dude that'll put it out there, like, "Yo, I'm going to get so and so for you," right? So I that and if I'm him, I'm staying there. Like if I'm Luca, I'm not going somewhere else because at least you have an ownership who's gonna be like, or an owner who's
Yeah.
gonna be like, "Yo, what do you need?" You know.
They struck. I mean, Cuban struck lightning when he had Dirk and what they did back then. But it's been hard for him now to load up that
Yeah.
superstar tandem. And when you have a Phoenix, I mean, look who the fuck they had to contend with.
Right.
Phoenix, Golden State, just building super teams, all crazy. And for whatever reason, he hasn't been able to get it happening in Dallas. But I think they're only a couple of guys away, you know. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
If I'm
Luca's
them,
that
I
guy.
find a way. I think I find a way to move Kyrie. Like I don't think the Kyrie Luca experience is gonna work. Um, no, I love Kyrie. Kyrie's one of my favorite point guards in the league. Um, I just don't know that the two of them coexist well because Luca has to have the ball in his hands, as does Kyrie. Kyrie's not a he's not a come off the screen type of guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so because of that, I feel like that it might be time to move on from him, and maybe you wait until there's a stretch of really good games, and then before the trade deadline, you move him and you got to try and get some pieces. Like I don't want just draft picks. I need guys that are going to help me be better now, today, and maybe some future picks as well for Kyrie. But
Yeah.
you can't let Luca's oil burn because he's clearly in his prime. Clearly, like this dude's
But
doing
that's the thing.
44,
Who's gonna
13, and 11. Like
who's gonna be that next guy? Who's gonna be that guy to help them get over the edge? And when you got a Phoenix, that's Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. What?
they need paint presence.
Yeah,
Um
and
they
that's
need
absent.
paint presence
That's
because they're
absent in the
you they
league.
got Powell. I like that kid Lively that they drafted this year, but he's still young. But he looks good. But they do need. I think they need somebody like, man. I'm trying to put my
That
finger on
it's a
someone they
lost
could go
art in the
get.
game. It's a lost
Yeah.
art in the game. Like we got a good center in Mitchell Robinson. He's got like a million offensive rebounds right now. But
If I'm Cuban, and it'll never happen. Let me preface this by saying it. This is not going to happen. It will never happen. But if I'm Mark Cuban, I'm finding a way to go get Embiid from Philly. I'm finding a
that
way to
that would work.
yeah. You put
That would
those
work.
two guys together,
That would work.
ooh,
That would work.
let me tell you
That's
something.
it. That would be it. That would be
Yeah.
it. That would be it.
It's not going to happen. Like, let's be clear there. But
It could.
if he found a way,
It could.
some draft picks, Lively, or maybe you keep Lively. Maybe you find some other guys on the team. I'm sending Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm sending
Kyrie,
Kyrie. I'm sending
draft
all of
picks.
that, and I'm gonna tell I'm gonna tell the owner like, yo, send all your nieces and nephews to Shark Tank, and I'm giving them an opportunity. Like if I'm Mark Cuban, because that will work. That's what they need.
I think that's one of the best trade talks we've heard. Dallas get Joel Embiid in there with Luca.
Yeah,
Make it
man.
happen. Make it
That'd
happen.
be Then you shake up the West. You shake up the league. You shake up the league. Man,
It's
let
a
me tell
wrap.
you something.
It's a
Let me
wrap.
tell you something. But yeah, Luka Doncic is the best player in the league, in my opinion. Today, this dude is unstoppable. He's unguardable. There was someone else I was talking about that I was saying was unguardable. Oh, we were talking about the Tyreek versus AJ Brown debate. And then Tyreek went out and got stopped, and then AJ Brown went out and got stopped. So, uh,
But you know you can't debate Miami stuff with VP. His emotion doesn't allow him to think rationally. Because again, I'm looking at it from a football perspective, right? If I have to cover Tyreek, if I had to cover Tyreek, I'm giving him 10 yards. And depending
right,
on my scheme as a defense, going man with him is crazy to me. I'm not going man with him. I'm gonna give you cover two, a deep third look to where I'm gonna cover the deep side and I'm gonna have somebody cover in the middle. And then I gotta
yeah,
get to Tua. That's it. AJ Brown, he's so physically strong that it's not a lot that you can do to stop him. When he gets his hands on the ball, his run after the catch, his physicality, his one-to-one, his ability to sit down in empty spots, the kid is nice. I'm telling you. And I played the
yeah.
game.
AJ Brown is nice. He's just undersized. Um, and for being undersized, he's great. Because if he had,
Nah,
let's say
AJ ain't
Jamar Chase's
undersized.
height,
He ain't
is he?
undersized. He's
He's
about
only
5'10", 6 feet.
not short for a receiver. Let me take it back. It's not
No,
short for it's not short
no,
for a receiver. It's
no.
when you talk about the Jamar Chases of the world, when you talk about the Justin Jeffersons of the
Bruh.
world, you talk about the Calvin Johnsons. Of course, that's a different. Devonte Adams, the
Bruh.
the the wide receivers that are dominating the game today.
AJ Brown is 6'1". 6'1",
Oh, he
220.
he don't look 6'1".
That's what I keep telling y'all. Y'all don't see how great he is because he isn't flashy. He isn't finesse. This guy is 6'1", 220. He's David Boston with better hands. This I'm telling you, this
Yeah,
guy
he
is a
just can't
matchup
jump though.
nightmare.
He
He don't
don't
have
he
he's not he don't have to. He plays basketball out there. He's
yeah
6'1".
he's
I'm
good.
telling you.
He's good.
I'm
He's no
telling you.
CD, but he's
I'm
good.
telling you, bro.
Um, he's no CD Lamb, but he's definitely good. But if I'm if I'm playing against Tyreek, like, and the Cowboys need to pay attention for uh uh Christmas Eve because they played Miami. You got to bump this guy at the line. You got to get physical with him. He's so damn small. Put Tyreek on his ass. Take a penalty, if you will. I'd rather take the 5 yard holding than let this guy run past you as the fastest guy in the league. So, um, yeah, I mean, they were able to stop AJ Brown. I mean, he scored, but I think he had something like
I
50
mean,
yards or some
but
shit.
here's the other thing that I say about him. He's quarterback proof, in my opinion. Like Jalen Hurts isn't the best quarterback in the world, right? I would
Mm-hmm.
even say Tua is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. But Tua has got
I'll
to
go on
be
that
on.
limb.
Tua has got. I mean, Tyreek has never had a bad quarterback. AJ Brown was rotten in Tennessee for how long? I'm telling you,
Yeah.
this
Well, it's
that
like
kid is
DeAndre
nice.
Hopkins, right? When DeAndre was in Houston, he went through every shitty quarterback that hit the league. Every single one of them in Houston. Then he finally gets one and he gets suspended. He got Deshaun Watson and he gets suspended. Like, and then they trade him. So, and then Kyler gets hurt. So, DeAndre Hopkins has never had a good quarterback either, and it'd be great if he did. But let's talk about Derek Carr, man. Derek Carr, every wide receiver Derek Carr get his hands on gets in trouble.
Yeah, yeah.
Chris Olave, Michael Thomas just got arrested. Both of those guys got arrested. Antonio Brown with the Raiders, he got arrested. Henry Ruggs killed somebody. Derek Carr, I don't know
You
what
gotta
he's
relax.
doing to these.
You gotta relax.
I
You
don't know
gotta
what he's
relax.
doing to these wide receivers, man.
You
But
gotta relax.
they need to check on this guy.
You gotta
Cause
relax.
um but yeah, man. So I think I'm not looking forward to much today. Cowboys play Giants. I don't know what the Jets have. If you guys are on a bye.
We play the Raiders Sunday Night Football,
Oh, okay. So you guys got the
which
night
is
game.
crazy. Which is crazy.
I don't think there's any major matchups this week to speak of. So I don't think we need to talk on that. But other than that, I guess we'll be back to it next week. There's definitely some other stuff for us to get to. We got to talk about Joe Budden's getting punched in the face and fighting in strip clubs and stuff like that. Uh,
Your boy.
uh,
Your
that's
boy.
interesting.
Your boy.
And yeah, man. But hopefully we'll get VP back next week. Hopefully he'll get his power back and we can get moving. I want to just say Castworthy Podcast, where you can find us pretty much everywhere. Search Castworthy, CASTWORTHY. Twitter, Instagram is probably the best. We stream everywhere you can think of, but the easiest ones and the free ones are Spotify and YouTube if you want to watch video and see these dashingly handsome faces.
You better relax.
Live on Facebook on Sunday mornings. You can comment and hit us up. But other than that, we appreciate you listening, popping in. We'll appreciate the feedback and stay safe out there. Make the call to your people, like we always say. Until the next episode of the Castworthy Podcast, we are out.